Hi, everyone, and welcome to TransLink's virtual annual general meeting. My name is Alana Simmons, and I am Manager of Indigenous Relations here at TransLink. Thank you for joining us today during National Indigenous History Month. National Indigenous History Month honors and celebrates the extraordinary contributions, traditions, cultures, and spiritual diversity of the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. This month provides an opportunity for everyone to listen and learn about Indigenous heritage, focus on reconciliation, and consider our role, both as individuals and an enterprise, in repairing Canada's relationship with Indigenous peoples. To start today's meeting, I would like to begin by acknowledging that the meeting is taking place on the traditional and unceded territories of the Ho'okume'manu, Semiahmoo, and Squamish-speaking people. TransLink respects that Indigenous people created the first self-reliant societies since time immemorial and are active members of Metro Vancouver community and will continue to be active members for generations to come. Thank you. I will now pass it over to the board chair, Lorraine Cunningham, to commence the meeting.
Thank you, Alana, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for TransLink's annual general meeting. My name is Lorraine Cunningham, and I'm honored to be the chair of TransLink's board of directors. Today, we are gathered to reflect on 2021, a year of resilience, a year of connection, reconnection, and a year where the importance of sustainability became very clear. At this time, I'd also like to recognize my fellow board members who are tuned in today for this virtual AGM. They include Jennifer Chan, Sarah Clark, Mayor Jonathan Cote, Harj Dhaliwal, Mayor Jack Froese, Karen Horcher, Andrea Reimer, Andy Ross, Harpinder Sandhu, and Marcella Sell. We have a full program today. First, our annual general meeting will run from 9 until about 9:50 to 9:55. During the AGM, you will hear from TransLink CEO Kevin Quinn, Coast Mountain Bus Company President Mike McDaniel, BC Rapid Transit Company Acting President Mike Richard, and Metro Vancouver Transit Police Chief Officer Dave Jones. Near the end of today's program, we have set aside time for question and answer session, where we will answer questions submitted using Slido. If you're watching this event on Slido, you can submit your questions to the right of the live stream. The link to ask questions is also on our website at translink.ca/AGM. Around 9:55, we will conclude our AGM, take a 5-minute break before moving on to our June open board meeting that starts at 10 a.m. The open board meeting will be broadcast live on TransLink's YouTube channel. As I mentioned off the top, 2021 was a big year for the enterprise. In 2021, the organization overcame. It became a year of sustainability, resilience, and reconnection. And we achieved a lot, despite major challenges like a global pandemic and multiple extreme weather events. To support the community through challenging times, be it the pandemic or extreme weather, TransLink did what it could. We provided free shuttles to COVID-19 immunization sites for individuals with transportation needs within the Vancouver Coastal Health and Fraser Health Authorities. We launched the mobile vaccine bus in partnership with the Fraser Health Authority to provide a mobile COVID-19 immunization service in designated communities, resulting in over 800 people receiving vaccinations. We provided bus service for travelers returning to Canada who had to quarantine in designated hotels. And our employees came together and donated more than $28,000 to the Red Cross during the floods last fall. Throughout it all, our employees remained focused to ensure we could continue to connect customers with the people and places that matter most, no matter what came their way. While system-wide boardings were down, we knew that upwards of 300,000 customers continued to rely on our service each day. Many of them were essential workers who were also keeping our region moving and safe. As always, focusing on delivering our service was a top priority, and our commitment never wavered. We know that to deliver on our strategic priorities, TransLink and its operating companies must offer services and systems that exceed our customers' expectations now and into the future. That includes our bus, C-Bus, SkyTrain, West Coast Express, and Handy Dart services, as well as the infrastructure for roads, bridges, bike parkades, and active transportation infrastructure to support cycling and walking. In the fall of 2021, we moved 2.2 million unique customers on transit, the equivalent of 84% of the Metro Vancouver population. Our region, along with the rest of the world, experienced additional waves of the pandemic last year, causing some businesses to close once again, with many people continuing to work from home. With that, new travel patterns have emerged, and so we've had to adapt to meet customers' needs by adjusting service. For example, we increased service in the Southeast region, where ridership has been recovering the fastest. We also increased service on modes during times of day with higher levels of demand, not just in traditional peak hours. In 2021, TransLink reconnected Metro Vancouver with continued pandemic recovery and made great strides in sustainability and reconciliation, which you'll hear more about in a moment. As we look forward, TransLink will continue to deliver exceptional service to our region and remains responsive to our ever-changing environment. Now I'd like to turn it over to our first speaker of the day, TransLink's CEO, Kevin Quinn. Over to you, Kevin.
Okay, great. Thank you, Lorraine, and thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Kevin Quinn. I'm the CEO here at TransLink. And more than ever, I want to drive the enterprise forward. And I think our hard work in 2021 has positioned us to do just that. And so while we recognize the good work completed last year, I want you all to leave this year's AGM as inspired as I am for where we're headed as a region. I will add that our annual statutory report and 2021 accountability report are both available on our website for viewing as of today at translink.ca. As many of you are aware, I started at TransLink in the summer of 2021, and so that'll certainly be a year that sticks with me for quite a while. And I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to thank our Chief Operating Officer, Gigi Chen Kuo, for her time as interim CEO during the first half of 2021. Gigi's leadership really brought stability to the organization in one of the most challenging times our organization has ever experienced. And so thank you, Gigi. Part of the reason that I'm so proud to be part of this organization is that, as Chair Cunningham pointed out, no matter what challenges we face as an enterprise, our goal always stays the same: to connect people to the places that matter most while doing our part to make this region a great place to live. Next slide, please. 2021 gave us a very sober reminder of the urgent need to advance reconciliation, as many truths were uncovered about the tragedies of residential schools that have impacted Indigenous communities. As a newcomer to Canada and to the region, I've been learning more about reconciliation and doing my part to support my education. And on just my third day at TransLink in July 2021, I was so fortunate to have been able to attend a cultural ceremony marking the maiden voyage of the new Burrard Chinook C-Bus. And as part of this event, we worked in lockstep with the 3 local nations to ensure they were an integral part of the planning process and to reflect our organization's journey toward true reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. Our team is so committed to working with local nations on continued engagement on our projects, and we continue to look for opportunities for future partnerships, as well as improving transit service on reserve lanes. Next slide, please. In 2021, we made major strides in improving the accessibility of our system. In response to our extensive public engagement, we improved our Handy Dart service as part of our modernization program to make it more affordable and accessible. Customers can now receive service alerts directly via text or email. Age-based discounts were also implemented, which means that more than 70% of customers are paying less for the service. Additionally, customers can now use Compass on our entire fleet of over 300 handy-dart vehicles, making trips more convenient. And in December, TransLink began installing Braille signage at the 8,400 bus stops across Metro Vancouver, a major step forward in assisting customers who are blind or partially sighted. Next slide, please. 2021 was such a foundational year, really setting the stage for 2022 and beyond. We completed phases 2 and 3 of our largest public engagement ever on our 30-year regional transportation strategy, Transport 2050, which was adopted in January. Next slide, please. Our engagement for Transport 2050 included 360 in-person or virtual events across 27 municipalities in and beyond Metro Vancouver, as well as speaking with over 160,000 members of the public and 500 stakeholder groups. More than 4,000 transportation ideas were shared, and we considered all feedback received. And I'm so proud that the outcome of this is a plan that really reflects not only what the region wants most, but also offers solutions to the challenges the region is facing. Next slide, please. One of these challenges is climate change, which is why it was so exciting to finalize our climate action strategy. It's a huge step forward in our commitment to new aggressive targets to fight climate change, like reaching net zero greenhouse gas emissions by the year 2050. The strategy gives us a high-level roadmap for moving forward on climate change, including reducing greenhouse gas emissions, adapting to climate impacts, and advancing governance and funding. The great thing is that transit is already one of the most powerful ways to cut GHGs, and it's amazing how powerful a simple bus ride can be. Next slide, please. So our work continues to ensure we're building a resilient and sustainable transit system now and into the future. Next slide. And so in December 2020, we announced the largest SkyTrain car order in TransLink's history, the procurement of 205 new Mark V trains. And this will allow us to retire older vehicles, improve fleet quality, and keep service reliable for customers. Manufacturing is now underway. In 2021, significant progress was also made on the Surrey-Langley SkyTrain project and the Broadway subway project. And in 2021, TransLink continued to support the province's efforts in business case development, concept design, and finalization of supportive policy agreements with municipalities. Internally, we initiated various studies and service pattern models, as well as studies and plans for supporting projects to ensure the long-term success of the SLS project. Next slide, please. We also know that delivering a remarkable experience increases the likelihood that our customers will return, use our services often, and tell a friend. So we launched our first ever sweepstakes, Tap In to Win, inviting customers to simply register their Compass Transit card for a chance to win some great prizes. We gave away a variety of exciting experiences, along with a grand prize of a $10,000 YVR flight voucher. Over 68,000 customers entered to win, and more than 5,300 participants increased their travel by 100%, making the event a huge success. Next slide, please. Keeping our system running smoothly is essential, and we continue to think long-term, focusing on maintenance, expansion, and the customer experience. Of course, achieving both financial and environmental sustainability has been at the forefront of our efforts. By the end of 2021, annual ridership was 49.4% of pre-COVID-19 boardings. We remained confident that as we move forward, together we could continue to rebuild ridership and build a well-connected region for a stronger, more resilient future. And I have great news to share. We are seeing ridership continue to recover, particularly with great weather or big events. Just recently, our average weekend journeys hit 80% of pre-COVID levels, which is so promising. In addition to relief funding of $644 million secured in 2020, TransLink received $31.8 million of additional senior government relief funding in 2021 to ensure we could continue to maintain service levels. We're grateful for the funding support we received, but we also know that long-term, we must find new ways to generate revenue to fund projects and continue to deliver exceptional service for our customers. And so you might be thinking, how are you going to do this? And that's a great question. Well, one of our key initiatives we've commenced work on is our new real estate development program. Transit agencies around the world, such as Hong Kong, London, and Paris, have benefited from developing a real estate program to create additional revenue that doesn't depend on taxation, and it's been extremely successful. Through our new real estate program, TransLink intends to build residential, commercial, or mixed-use developments near transit through partnerships with both the public and private development sectors. As we continue to see the long-term impacts of COVID on ridership return, this program will help generate revenue that offsets lower ridership and declining revenue from the fuel tax as part of our efforts to identify alternative ways to fund essential regional transit services. The program is also aligned with the province's and local government's goals of increasing housing supply and creating more transit-oriented communities. We look forward to engaging with those bodies to work forward and move towards these critical regional goals. Work to further develop this program is underway with the support of the Mayor's Council and the TransLink Board of Directors, and you'll certainly hear more as we advance this important initiative. And of course, we'll continue to work with the Mayor's Council, the Government of British Columbia, and the Government of Canada to identify other new sources of long-term sustainable revenue. Next slide, please. As mentioned off the top, in 2021, we laid a solid foundation and we're working to build upon it. This year, I'm focused on reconnecting, reinvesting, and rebalancing the enterprise and the region. And one of the ways we're doing this is through focusing on important initiatives like safety. Enhancing TransLink's safety culture will help us deliver on our corporate priorities of rebuilding customer ridership, delivering a reliable transportation system in a state of good repair, achieving financial stability, and fostering a safe, skilled, and resilient workforce. So let's take a look at a video that highlights some of the ways safety comes to life through the TransLink enterprise. Please roll the video.
Safe public transportation is fundamental to the growth of our region. With an average of 613,000 boardings on our system every day, our number one priority is ensuring customers are safe and secure throughout their journey. In 2021, we continued to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, which included physical distancing, signage, mask wearing, and enforcement by transit police. We also completed a pilot project to assess the antibacterial efficacy of copper on public transit, which included installing bacteria-killing copper on high-touch surfaces on the transit system. Understanding that our customers' feelings of safety directly affect ridership, we integrated a new feature in collaboration with Transit app, which allowed customers to see the estimated number of seats remaining on board buses and SkyTrain. 30% of users reported that they use transit more frequently due to this feature. Of course, we continue to support the province's pandemic response. In 2021, we partnered with local health authorities to provide a mobile vaccine bus in areas with lower vaccine rates. We also responded to a series of extreme weather events to ensure customer safety. This work included mitigating ice buildup, ensuring roads were plowed so buses could move safely on city streets, and communicating information to customers when and where they needed it most. We are committed to service excellence, and customer safety is always one of our top priorities. On the rail side, British Columbia Rapid Transit Company has adopted the premise that zero injuries are possible. Bcrtc operates SkyTrain and West Coast Express rail services with over 1,100 employees delivering safe and reliable rail transportation that you can count on. Every day, these employees proudly perform their maintenance and operation duties with zero harm at the forefront of everything we do. Zero harm is Bcrtc's philosophy that at the end of the day, everybody returns home to their family and friends unharmed and uninjured, both mentally and physically. For Bcrtc, this means looking after one another. It's about taking care and not accepting shortcuts, workarounds, or taking needless risks. A responsibility all employees share, no matter what their role or level of experience is. Zero harm is a call to action that together we can achieve our collective safety goals. The focus on zero harm has already proven successful with injury reductions realized throughout the company. Our efforts have been recognized by our industry peers at the American Public Transportation Association with a Gold Safety Award. Working together, Bcrtc is truly on its way to making zero harm possible, making our rail service safe for everyone. As we deserve to use a safe transit system, passengers with safety concerns can discreetly text Metro Vancouver Transit Police 24/7 at 877777, or they can call 604-515-8300. This service applies to all modes of transit. When a text message is sent, it is immediately received and responded to in real time by an operator at the Transit Police Operations Communications Center. Based on the type of incident being reported, there are a number of different responses that Transit Police can initiate. In many instances, the closest available Transit Police officer will be dispatched to the location. In some situations, Transit Police dispatch will connect with on-scene transit employees who can determine what form of assistance is required. If the text relates to an unattended or suspicious package, a member of the Transit Police Explosive Detection Dog Team will often be dispatched to the location to verify that the area is safe. CCTV cameras on board transit vehicles and at stations can also assist in determining what is occurring, while nearby police or transit personnel are en route. In an emergency, passengers are also encouraged to dial 911. Across Metro Vancouver, there are numerous personnel resources dedicated to the transit system, including police officers, station and marine attendants, train conductors, transit operators, transit security, and transit supervisors, who are ready to assist you, our customers, in reaching your destination safely each and every day. It's obvious that safety is important at Coast Mountain Bus Company. We operate large vehicles in traffic, all kinds of weather, and almost 24 hours a day. Our skilled trades keep the vehicles running smoothly, following safe work practices and relying on their training and expertise. It doesn't matter if you're operating or maintaining a bus, working on the front lines, or in a support role. Our nearly 6,000 employees always keep safety top of mind. We recognize they are our greatest asset, and their safety makes our work possible. Our electrical safety program, for example, has ensured the success of more than 70 years of service by zero-emission electric trolley buses, with many more years to come. The network includes more than 320 kilometers of overhead directional wire, creating a web above Vancouver the city is now famous for. Maintaining this system is high-voltage work performed at heights. Safe work practices include PPE and training, and we're proud of the program we've built to protect our employees. And now, the electrical safety program has laid a foundation of safety assisting us as we add battery electric buses to our fleet. Next year, our 4 battery electric buses will grow to 19, and a couple years after that to almost 80. From there, it will grow exponentially over the next 10 years. These buses pave our way towards TransLink's goal of net zero emissions by 2050. It's a bold, audacious goal that charts a bright future for this region. And it'll be our employees who make it happen. Their work made possible by our commitment to safety.
Well, that's a great video, and I want to note that I'm just personally so thankful for the commitment that our employees and our whole team across the enterprise have made towards keeping our system safe for our employees and customers. And similarly, I'd also be remiss if I didn't note how thankful our enterprise is for the $176 million in provincial and senior government funding that we received in 2022 to allow our services to keep running at such high levels, to really keep the Metro Vancouver region moving. Before we transition to our next speaker, I do want to recognize our employees who have worked tirelessly through 2021 and really positioned us for success in 2022. A huge thank you to each and every one of them for their passion, their hard work, and their dedication. Now, I'd like to pass it over to our operating companies to share some of their key priorities for 2022. Before I introduce our first speaker, I would like to take a moment to recognize past president and general manager of Bcrtc, Michel Ladrac. Michel's last day with Bcrtc was on June 10th, and during his tenure, Michel's leadership made a tremendous impact on the organization, leaving both SkyTrain and West Coast Express in a great position for future renewal and expansion. And so thank you, Michel. Now I'd like to introduce Mike Richard, acting president and general manager of Bcrtc, to share the company's priorities for 2022. Over to you, Mike.
Thank you, Kevin. Good morning, everyone. Today, it's my pleasure to provide you with our key priorities for the rail side of the enterprise. For the remainder of this year and over the course of the next several years, we'll be focused on 3 critical priorities to ensure that we are successful delivering all of our maintenance, capital, and service commitments. These priorities are people and culture, system expansion and renewal, and modernizing our business. Next slide, please. And one more, please. The employees of SkyTrain and West Coast Express are the heart and soul of our business. This means we will continue to focus on our people and culture by ensuring we have leaders who have the skills to motivate their staff, who are accountable, and who deliver on our commitments. We have to continue with our Just Culture and Zero Harm initiatives to ensure that everyone has a voice and always keeps safe in everything that we do. And we have to look at our business to see where we need the resources to effectively perform the services that our customers have come to expect. Next slide, please. And the next slide, please. We are heavily focused on the expansion and renewal of our business. For system expansion, we'll continue to support the Surrey Langley SkyTrain and Broadway subway projects. This includes upgrading our existing maintenance buildings near Edmund Station to enable us to store more trains. We are also planning new maintenance facilities in Coquitlam, as well as a new facility to support the Surrey Langley extension. And we are building a new operations control center to accommodate all of the extensions and new facilities well into the future. For system renewal, key projects this year include completing 120 kilometers of rail grinding as part of our annual grinding program. We are replacing 40 track switch machines that are critical to the safe movement of trains, and we are also replacing expansion joints in Skybridge and replacing 6.5 kilometers of running rail throughout the system that is nearing the end of life. Next slide, please. Lastly, many of the procedures and processes we are working within our maintenance and corporate services require modernization. This includes enhancing our maintenance procedure documentation through the establishment of a quality management and quality assurance department in the company, and continuing with the phased-in implementation of our new enterprise asset management system to replace outdated processes that have been used for over 30 years. This is all intended to help achieve our goal of proactively managing our assets to ensure a state of good repair. These are the key priorities we'll be focusing on. Thank you, and back to you, Kevin.
All right, that's excellent. A lot of great things BCRTC is working on, and Mike, thanks for your leadership. I'd now like to invite Mike McDaniel, President and General Manager of Coast Mountain Bus Company, to share his 2022 priorities. Over to you, Mike.
Thank you, Kevin, and good morning, everyone. It's great to be here at the AGM. It's always a special day to look back a little bit and, of course, look forward to. So let's do that. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to take everybody through just a few of CNBC's 2022 priorities. We have many. These are the highlights. Let's get started. Next slide, please. So whether it is, of course, 2022 or any other year for that matter, our main priority is, of course, delivering service to our customers. It's what we do. It's why we exist. So delivering bus service and C-bus service to the region, as well as managing the contracts for Handy Dart Community Shuttle in Langley and Bowen Island, as well as West Vancouver Blue Bus. That's what we do, and that's what we're here for. Next slide, please. So moving from the day-to-day to some major projects. First and foremost, internal technology upgrades, including DOMS, EAM, and ERP. Now, I get that these acronyms probably are not that familiar to the public, but these are essential projects to ensure that we can continue to provide the great service that we do to our customers of this region. The next one is a truly transformative one, though. This is our low carbon fleet program that was referenced by Kevin earlier, as well as in the video. This program includes the electrification of our fleet and, of course, the supporting infrastructure for that. We're getting ready for 57 battery electric buses at Port Coquitlam Transit Center, and a lot of things are already underway with the prep work. We look forward to 2025 when that project comes to completion and that part of the fleet goes into revenue service. Next slide, please. And, a priority that can never be overstated, especially at the bus company, is safety. Safety makes everything that we do possible. In 2022, I'll just mention a couple of highlights here that are safety focused. First, continuing the update and refining of our longstanding electrical safety program, especially given all of the new battery electric buses that are on the way. Second is our refresher training for our transit operators that will continue, and in fact, over the last 18 months to 2 years has been accelerated. And third, with the experience gained over the last 2 years that we've all gone through, we will advance with that knowledge and advance our business continuity planning. Next slide, please. And last, I would like to focus a little bit on our employees. Now, 2022 will be a year when we take some major leaps forward. We're working to improve the mental health and employee morale in the 6,000 employees across Coast Mountain Bus Company, and we know that they are absolutely our greatest asset. We'll aim to advance equity, diversity, and inclusion this year as well, and recruitment and retention are also key focus areas. We need to be fully resourced to deliver high-quality service to ensure the well-being of our current and new employees, and then consequently, of course, our customers. And last slide, please. So as you can see, it's another busy year at Coast Mountain Bus Company. As the picture depicts, it's a bit of a blur already, but it's busy and we're excited for 2022 and beyond. Back to you, Kevin.
Excellent. Thanks, Mike. It is a bit of a blur and we're ready to move strongly here into 2022. So thanks so much for that. Last but certainly not least, Dave Jones, I'll turn it over to you, Chief Officer of the Metro Vancouver Transit Police. Chief Jones, over to you, Dave.
Thanks, Kevin. And like others before, I just want to thank all the staff that have worked diligently over the last year and couple of years during COVID to keep things operating the way they have and preparing us for 2022. Next slide. One of the key things I wanted to focus on today is our 2022 priorities. We introduced our new Transit Police strategic plan that goes from 2022 to 2026. And with this plan comes a new performance metrics that will be reported on publicly. A lot of what happens in policing across the country now deals with things that are not criminal in nature. A lot of it is seen as things such as addiction issues, mental health issues, homelessness issues, which are not criminal behaviors. And with individuals around the transit system, we see ourselves being more providing assistance to those who may be in a need. Some of our new measures will include the number of referrals we're able to make of individuals to social services providers, the number of files where an officer is immediately on scene and their presence is able to intervene prior to a call for service coming in to the organization, and the number of mental health interventions that are successful in assisting those individuals on and around the system. In total, there are 11 objectives with 35 action items contained in this strategic plan, which we will report on annually throughout the year at both Police Board and TransLink meetings. As part of it, COVID restrictions ease and more passengers are returning to the transit system or even using it for the first time. We want to educate them about the multitude of safety tools, which we saw within the presentation earlier, and the number of initiatives that we'll be undertaking. Next slide. Part of this too is we also want to implement is the Community Safety Officer program you've heard about, 2022 going into 2023, which is a tiered level of safety and security will be implemented. That is progressing well. And along with that, we also come with the ability here to ensure that our employees throughout the organization are reflective of equity, diversity, and inclusion. We will be growing in size to anticipate the opening of the Broadway subway system and then eventually the Surrey-Langley extension. So with that growth will come our opportunity to ensure that our agency is reflective of the communities that we serve. And lastly, as part of it, the strategic plan, and we all know that interacting with the various users on the system is important. A program that has been developed over the last 2 years and is expanding rapidly is our Blue Eagle Community Cadet Program. This is but one example of the transit police reaching out through the 22 communities we serve and engaging with, in this instance, urbanized Indigenous youth to create an interaction with those youth to, one, create a positive balance between the police and the communities we serve, but also to enhance their experience throughout the region with various activities, including partnering with the Vancouver Police Department, the Surrey RCMP, the Surrey Police Service, and soon to be the new Westminster Police Department, who are looking to advance this program. Overall, the transit police are excited to be a part of TransLink and the safety measures that are put in place throughout the system. And we look forward to 2022 and the expansion goals that are coming in the near future. Back to you, Kevin.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for that update, and just a big thanks to you and the great work by the Metro Vancouver Transit Police to keep all of our riders and our employees safe and moving every single day. With that, I want to note that we've now reached the final part of our AGM program, which is the public question and answer portion. And so as a reminder, we will be taking your questions through Slido. And if you're watching this event through Slido, you'll see the Q&A box on the right-hand side of your screen, or you can visit slido.com and enter the event code TransLink AGM. To help moderate today's Q&A and to close out today's event, I'd now like to introduce Dan Mountain from the TransLink communications team. And so over to you, Dan.
Thanks, Kevin. My name's Dan. I'm on TransLink's communications team. So yeah, if you haven't already, as Kevin said, head over to slido.com, put in the hashtag TransLinkAGM and get your question in. The questions will be asked in the order that they arrive. So our first question for you, Kevin, it's about bus ridership in Surrey. So this person says that they are a Surrey bus rider. They want to know, what are you doing for bus ridership in Surrey? Particularly, they say they ride the 319 and they notice that it's getting crowded.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, we know that ridership in Surrey and the areas around Surrey in our southeast subregion south of the Fraser has really actually had the strongest ridership recovery throughout Metro Vancouver. To address this, we did raise bus service. We increased bus service for that sub-region last year by 8%. And we're continuing to put more service into that area. And in fact, starting next week, we're actually permanently boosting some of our key Surrey routes as part of our summer service change. Specifically, I know the question was about the 319. We know that the 319 is the busiest bus route south of the Fraser and one of the busiest bus routes actually in the entire region. And that's one big reason why we're so excited to add our next rapid bus service to that corridor to better serve customers in Surrey and Delta. So that's the R6, and the R6 service is on track to run alongside the 319 next year, and it's a service we're absolutely excited about for our customers that will really take bus service in Surrey and Delta to the next level. So great question, and something we're attuned to, and improvements are on the way.
Thanks, Kevin. This next question is about washrooms on transit. This customer says that transit needs more washrooms and wants to know, when will they see washrooms on transit?
Yeah, another great question, and it's a question we get a good bit about. So, you know, through our 2022 investment plan, we are investing over $18 million to build and operate 6 new washrooms at transit hubs. You know, we know from our engagement that we've done through Transport 2050, through the investment plan, that this is something incredibly important to our customers. Washrooms were the most requested amenity in our latest customer experience engagement. I'll note that we expect the first washroom to really open by 2024, with the other 5 opening in 2026. The next step is really for us to develop a washroom implementation strategy with the Mayor's Council, which will identify those more specific locations with a timeline for implementation and operation. But we are so excited to start opening new washrooms on our system. Again, it is something that we know our customers would like to see.
Thank you. This next question is about climate change. So the person says that our buses pollute the air. They want to know why there aren't more electric buses and when they can start seeing more.
Yeah, climate change, I talked a bit about it in my remarks. I think, throughout 2021, we all saw some of the really devastating impacts of climate change in Metro Vancouver, from wildfires, a tornado out to UBC, some very devastating flooding. And for our part, TransLink is absolutely committed to reducing carbon emissions through our climate action strategy. I want to note that transit is already one of the greenest ways to get around the region. Our SkyTrain system is fully electric. We've got an over 250 fully electric trolley bus fleet. And when you take those together, we're actually already today moving about a third of all of our riders on a zero emission technology. But I think we also realize that there's more to do and there's more room to grow, right? And we want to make that carbon footprint for all of our riders, anyone that uses transit, to zero. And so that's why, we've certainly committed to becoming a net zero organization and working to transition our bus fleet to a zero emission fleet of battery electric buses. So currently we do have 4 in service. By next year, we'll have 15 more. And our 2022 investment plan will allow us to order 500 more battery electric buses. And we're very excited for that addition to our fleet. We know that each bus saves around 70 tons of greenhouse gas emissions annually compared to a conventional diesel bus. And that will help us lower our carbon emissions by 45% by 2030 as we really work to address climate change on our path to net zero emissions. So, it's something we're really excited about. We're absolutely committed to, and we're absolutely on the right path to change over our buses to get those hybrid diesels off the road and to a clean technology.
This next question is about ridership. The person wants to know, how does TransLink compare to other comparable agencies?
Yeah, great question. So as I noted in my remarks, our ridership, weekday ridership is around 70% of pre-pandemic levels. On the weekends, actually hitting 80%. And I have to say that TransLink is leading the way in North America. We actually far outpace the American and the Canadian average transit ridership recovery. So we are seeing ridership continue to recover, particularly when we have really great weather or very big events, perhaps not surprising, right? So we're seeing some of the weekends rebound quicker. And again, our last weekend ridership reached 80% of pre-COVID levels. And I'll also just note that with the exception of a dip in ridership that we saw in January, primarily due to the Omicron variant, we've seen ridership increase every single month since May of 2021. That said, we know there's a long way to go. And our modeling is showing us getting up to 80% by the end of this year. But we aren't entirely sure if we'll return to pre-pandemic levels this year or next year. I think, it's been a crazy couple of years for all of us, and we're all still kind of waiting to see what happens with the pandemic. So that's kind of where we sit today.
Thanks, Kevin. The next question is about bus rapid transit. There was some talk about that last month or in late April. They want to know, when can we see a bus rapid transit, or what are the next steps for it in the region?
Sure. So, the Mayor's Council and our Board of Directors released the draft 10-year priorities document back in April, and we've been doing public engagement on that. That will go for approval next week. And a big piece of it is proposing to add BRT on up to 9 corridors over the next decade. It's not a technology this region is super familiar with, but it will change the way people take transit and deliver really quality bus service in dedicated bus lanes with dedicated stations. I'll note that, throughout Transport 2050, something that we heard loud and clear is that people want transit solutions and they want them now. And bus rapid transit is a technology that can be quickly deployed. It's cost effective. It's not as expensive as a lot of our larger SkyTrain lines by far. SkyTrain per kilometer is around $400 million per kilometer, bus rapid transit about $15 million per kilometer, which allows us to put out more rapid transit more quickly. So we think we have the ability to serve the region better with rapid transit through a BRT program. So we're really excited about this. We're excited to work with the Mayor's Council on the next steps. And so certainly more to come on BRT rollout in the rest of the region.
This next question is about the Broadway subway. So they want to know if there are any plans to extend the Broadway subway all the way to UBC.
Yeah, I'll note that the extension out to UBC is proposed in our 10-year priority plan that I just spoke about. And we'll certainly work with the Mayor's Council to secure funding to deliver that upon approval of the plan. But the Mayor's Council has endorsed the recommended station locations and some of the guideway routing for a potential extension of that line. It's also it's identified in the 10-year priority document as a priority project, and again, that's going for approval next week.
This next question is about ridership and how it's still affecting us. So they want to know, how is lower ridership continuing to affect TransLink?
Sure. So I'll note that while ridership is lower, it's pretty busy out on our system. I'm out on the system every single day, and I can tell you that especially during rush hours, it's a busy system right now. So while it's lower, I want to note that I've spoken to a lot of passengers about this, and I'll note that pre-COVID we had a pretty crowded system. And now we're in a position where I think throughout COVID and now, passengers have had less of a crowded experience. And it's something that we've got to be so attuned to, given that during COVID, we were all working through issues around social distancing, right? So we got to be so sensitive to those kind of overcrowding conditions. I'll reflect just a bit back on where we are with ridership recovery. We are at 70% ridership recovery right now. But we do know that travel patterns are changing, and that they were changing even before the pandemic. We know that more people are working from home. We know that more people are adopting, more companies are adopting kind of a hybrid work model. And I think as a region, as a world, we're still figuring out what that's going to look like from a transportation perspective. That's something that we're still looking at. I can say that for our part, we're doing everything that we can to bring customers back to the system. So we did launch our customer experience action plan, bringing music and bringing art to the system. We've rolled out our buskers program. And so I'm sure many of our riders have been out enjoying some of that music. It's also performers, getting our Art Moves program out there. And it's not just music, but it is also performers. We had our sweepstakes program. It's all about bringing positive experiences back to the system and getting people back in the habit of using transit after, nearly 2 years of a lot of people being off the system. So, we're really excited and really encouraged by the results that we're seeing, by the ridership numbers that we're seeing. I think we can expect those to continue to go up, certainly as the weather is getting a little nicer outside. And I, can't thank our riders enough for sticking with us throughout the pandemic and for continuing to get out there and ride transit every single day.
Thank you, Kevin. Looking through the Slido, there appears to be no more questions. So this formally concludes the Q&A portion and concludes the AGM.